Being in Essence by Thomas Aquinas, I think he quotes Aristotle. The first line is something like, a minute error in the beginning leads to like a major error in the outcome.
Yeah.
And it really does feel like that.
Yes.
It's like, and this is from the second, I think, or first Vatican Council, when God is forgotten, the creature becomes unintelligible.
Yeah.
And so if we kind of begin from the premise that man and woman aren't anything, they're just sexless widgets who are culturally constructed.
Right.
And you know what else is crazy? Is like, we've been talking about LGBTQ, whatever, but that was back when we thought B meant something.
Yeah.
Like, that's an admission that we live in a
Right.
binary world, but we don't, apparently.
Right.
But now we're stuck with this bloody B. Have you thought about that?
I have thought
Now
about
there's a
that
million
because
genders.
there are some fundamental contradictions or tensions or philosophical inconsistency in some of these assertions of identity, right? Because like, I remember asking my students a couple years ago, something like, okay, is sexual orientation innate? Are you born that way? Yes, immediate answer. And then, but what about, sex? And then, no, you're assigned a sex at birth. Because they were using this terminology, how you're assigned a sex at birth. Sex isn't something that is simply recognized when you're born. It's actually assigned or imposed on the body. And to me, I said, well, aren't those two ideas incoherent? Because presumably sexual orientation is an attraction to a particular sex.
Right.
So if that's innate, but sex isn't innate, like that doesn't make any sense. Like those seem to be contradictory.
Yes.
Right. And it's becoming, some of the weird things I've seen lately that are being written about, criticisms of folks who say that they would be uncomfortable dating someone who's transgender, or, so when you have this sort of shifting ideas of sex and gender, then what does sexual orientation even mean in that? So what does it mean for me to say I'm attracted to men? Does that mean I'm attracted to humans with male bodies? Right. Does that mean I'm attracted to
And isn't that rather discriminating of those poor women who might want you to be attracted to them?
Well, that's the ultimate discrimination, right? Like who you want to have sex with.
Yeah.
Right?
You would think that would be a good thing to be able to discriminate, unless we're supposed to be having sex with anybody.
Yes, I would agree that is a very good kind of discrimination to make, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm.
It's mad. It's mad. It's like we've gotten on this insane train from nonsense, and we refuse to get off of it, and things seem like they're spiraling.
It feels like we're kind of in the midst of like this kind of slow motion car crash. This kind of reductio ad absurdum argument, like in real time.
Yeah.
And it's changed so quickly, right? So when I was in graduate school in a secular program, we're studying feminist theory. The transgender question was very much on the margins. I remember watching sort of a special, like a BBC special on trans kids, and at the time, and here I was probably in the most sort of secular phase of my life, studying feminism, and I immediately recognized, this actually seems to affirm these sort of stereotypes that feminists have tried to undermine, right? The idea that, I have a son who loves to wear pink, he loves to play with dolls, therefore he must not really be a boy. Right. Well, the idea there is that what it means to be a boy is to like boy things, to like cars. So what's interesting is that hidden between this is this, there's this implicit, very polarized and stereotypical sense of what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman. It's almost as if it ironically makes those boxes very small, because now it's not as though, say, I was a tomboy growing up, I played a lot of sports, and now I kind of wonder, right? Like that, it wasn't even an option for me to think, maybe I'm really a boy. Yeah. But now I sort of wonder, maybe I would have wondered, if that had been an open question.
Because I was not into sports. I hated sports.
Right. See?
But I would love to read poetry and write music and
exactly.
think about my deep thoughts.
Right. And so there's one of the frustrations I have about this phenomenon is that it seems to give an even narrower and more polarized definition of what it means to be a man or what it means to be a woman. So no longer is it possible to be, say, a more stereotypically masculine woman. Mm-hmm. You must really be a man.
My wife was captain of the wrestling team.
See? There you go.
And, she was big into sports.
Yeah.
She would wear her pants under the dress, the frilly dress her mum would make her wear.
Absolutely.
But as soon as the priest was down the aisle, it was off and she was out playing with her boys, and
Yes.
she would have had to deal with that.
Right.
Yeah, it's insane to say men and women are socially constructed, but this man is a woman now.
Right. Right.
And you may not question that. So like, what are we claiming? Are we claiming a social construct?
Right.
Why do that with any enthusiasm?
Right.
Or seriousness?
Right. Yeah. It's hard to sort of track in a way. I mean, I remember in graduate school we were reading, I think it was something by Derrida or maybe Levinas, one of these post-structuralist theorists, and they wrote an essay by using the voice of a woman. Like they sort of stepped into this discursive place that is a woman and wrote from that. And I remember in our seminar, we were all like, you can't do this, right? A man just can't sort of declare, like, I'm a woman, I'm now writing as a woman, right? Because, at that point, it was still absolutely fair game to appeal to some kind of, to the importance of the body. And so, and even then I was studying a kind of French feminist theory that took the body seriously. And so even then I was probably something of a closet essentialist, even though I wouldn't have been able to admit that in feminist circles.
Yo, thanks for watching. You can watch the entire episode on YouTube if you want. You can listen to it at The Matt Fradd Show by subscribing on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And feel free to support me, patreon.com/MattFradd.